All right, everyone. Good afternoon from the Cleveland National Debate Center. I am Ben Irving from BBC News, and I welcome you to the October 2022 presidential debate between former Chief U.S. Marshal Chris 5512, former Deputy Secretary Donut, formerly known as Archie Coretti, and General Jin-Soo Kwon. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Founders Election Commission, who has approved the format. 4 roughly 12-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the initial question with open discussion for the rest of the segment. And there will be a 5th segment reserved for community questions. In keeping with precedent, questions have been agreed to by the candidates in their scope. BBC has polled the public to ascertain their greatest interests in reference to the future of the nation for which all segments will be based. None of the questions tonight has been shared with the candidates, and community questions will remain anonymous. However, they have been altered slightly for clarity. We only ask of you to remain respectful and to keep typing to a minimum in-game out of respect for our cameramen on the aisles. Without further ado, let's greet our candidates. In alphabetical order, our first candidate tonight is a former member of law enforcement with extensive experience to back it up. Please welcome to the stage former Chief U.S. Marshal Chris 5512. Our second candidate tonight is a former vice president with a knack for reporting the news and a resume the size of California. Come on out, former Deputy Secretary of State Donut. Our third and final candidate this afternoon likes to style himself a rootin' tootin' cowboy from Kentucky with his guns always ready. Please welcome General Jin-Soo Kwon. All right, thank you guys for being with us this afternoon. Since many of us have been waiting for the debate, let's get going. All right, our first topic tonight is foreign affairs. All three of you tonight have made several references to the United Nations, which has experienced some obstacles in its now one-year existence. General Kwon has written fostering the growth and development of our current nations and reaching out to those not in it to join. Chief Chris has similar plans for growing the UN, but with an emphasis of interacting with members more through treaties, events, and showing the resolve of the United States. Deputy Secretary Donut has specific plans to revitalize our treaties with other nations and expand our agreements to more nations in the UN. Why do you believe your plan will best impact the United Nations, and how will you combat the issue of activity within it? Deputy Secretary Donut, we will start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would like to further my plans in the United Nations and foreign affairs by working very closely with Department of State leadership and our United States ambassadors. I would like to meet with them and discuss short-term and long-term plans for the department. Like Mr. Irving said, I would like to revitalize and create treaties with nations throughout the international community. This includes mutual defense agreements, simple friendship relations, and other such documents. I believe communication and openness is a very big part of the United Nations, not just with the White House and the Department of State, but with nations in the international community. I yield my time.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. We appreciate your insight. General Kwon, you are next for the question, which I can repeat if needed. You have 2 minutes.
I was about to ask you if you could repeat it, just the last part.
Of course. Why do you believe your plan will best impact the United Nations, and how will you combat the issue of activity within it?
That's a good question. You know, a lot of the nations in our United Nations are very small or inactive. I've been around the Row Nation community for a very long time. I have a lot of connections from other nations that are active. Um, I'm hoping to help bring them in and hopefully get some more events going within the United Nations. So not just state visits, but you know, galas, joint trainings, um, you know, wars maybe. Wink, wink. Yeah, that's my main goal. Yeehaw.
All right. Thank you, General. Your words do you credit. Uh, Chief Chris, we can now proceed to you. You have 2 minutes.
Please repeat the question.
Of course. Why do you believe your plan will best impact the United Nations, and how will you combat the issue of activity within it?
I believe I'll be addressing things at a different level than my other two competitors here. Although mutual agreements and all that stuff keeps us active, of course, I'll be pushing for things like that. But I'm looking to approach the UN with less of a toxic environment. I feel like it can be something useful for all the groups in there. I feel like we can make it work. It can be fun. For example, when wars pop up, stuff like that, things can get toxic and people want to leave the UN. I know it's hard to get people to stay, but definitely willing to work with the people involved and the people who want to build the UN, and definitely bring back our Department of State and visits back to our nation and invite people, open our doors, open our doors again. Of course, there will be policies and stuff when needed, but I'm kind of looking to bring back excitement as well. I feel like it gets a little toxic there and then people lose their focus. That'll be all.
Thank you, Chief. We've now reached the portion of tonight's question where this will be an open discussion between the candidates. The three of you may chime in at any time to rebuttal the opposing individual's answer to the question, and we can also expand on the question if needed. General Kwan, would you like to start us off?
Oh, my mic was muted. I'm so sorry. I apologize. What was the question? What'd you say?
Yes, we've reached the point where we are now in open discussion, General.
Uh-huh.
So, based on the answers that you've heard tonight from your opponents, how would you respond?
Rebuttals to that? Oh, I agree with what they said. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Sorry.
All right, we have no problem with agreeance. Anything from the Deputy Secretary, perhaps?
I certainly agree with my fellow candidates in their plans and goals for foreign affairs and for our State Department. I would like to add on to my previous response that I would also like to look for, I would like to look to further the plans that the State Department has made with a war games resolution in the UN, which will bring some scrimmages and military practice between nations.
Yes, that is certainly in line with your current plans that you've posted and is widely available to the public to expand our agreements in the UN as a whole. Chief Chris, would you like to input?
I don't have too much of a disagreement. I just hope people aren't up here just spewing words.
I see. That seems like a dig, Chief. Would the
Well,
two of the
definitely is.
candidates, would the two of the candidates like to respond to that?
I believe my words have quite a meaning. I'm laying out my plans for the people to understand.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. General?
No, I'm alright. I just think Chris is gonna try to get a reaction.
All right, well.
I don't need a reaction if you're putting a show like that for the people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe we've certainly exhausted the topic of foreign affairs. You all three seem to have very similar plans for the country, so we shall hope for the best in the coming future. Let us move on now to our second topic tonight, which is member activity. Each candidate tonight has a proven track record of fostering activity in the departments or institutions they have led, and they all have made several comments regarding activity, whether it be theirs or others, as something to look to or improve. Explain to us how activity for our community is a passionate subject for each of you, and what plans do you have to inspire activity from our members, and how you will achieve them specifically? General Kwan, we'll start with you.
Um, to really improve our activity, I think unique events, uh, daily server startups, um, really figure out a way to involve our law enforcement and our military in events at DC and outside of DC. More events within the military, um, at Bragg, and other locations, and then hopefully we can work with foreign nations and work on getting events at their capitals where all of our citizens can attend. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I see. General, you mention events, and they've been rather vague, and in general, you said this before as well in your campaign. Do you have any specific events in mind?
My mic still, yeah. Specific events. We was really gonna work on events that are based around the holidays. So Thanksgiving events. Obviously, um, Thanksgiving dinners, the turkey pardoning, um, Christmas events, just more stuff that be interactive with the community. Um, we can have movies, movie nights, for Christmas movies, etc. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I see. Thank you, General. We appreciate that. Chief Chris, you may now field the question. You have 2 minutes.
Um, I think my history here has shown that I've been fairly active to my departments. I've brought on fun. People enjoyed working under me. I'm looking to bring that to a bigger scale at the White House with more events, just like he said, holidays. Not just that, holidays, but interacting more with the public. Feel like in the past we would see more presidents, a little more frequent, more on the road, or just showing themselves more at the gates or whatever, rather than just constantly at the White House hiding. Yeah, no, my White House is looking to interact with people, looking to keep the White House tours going, getting our military out there definitely for events. In fact, if I'm to win, I want to plan for the military to parade part of the street by DOD with me. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking to get everyone involved as much as I can. I like setting up events. I like keeping things busy. I like always looking for something to do. So if I can keep everyone going, bringing them to DC with excitement and fun, I feel like that's what we're missing. And I think I've provided that in my departments and my work. So I'm looking forward to bringing it to the White House.
All right, thank you, thank you, Chief. Deputy Secretary Donut, you now may field the question. You have 2 minutes.
I would like to take advantage of the vast number of holidays in the November-December term, including Thanksgiving, Christmas, other winter holidays, like my fellow candidates have said. These events will obviously be open for anybody to attend. But in addition to holiday events, things like meet and greets, continuing White House tours, and just being out and about in Washington, D.C. can all show that I care and will bring more interaction for both civilians, law enforcement, and criminals. Interaction from all three of the parties that I mentioned are very important and crucial to in-game activity at Washington, D.C. With that being said, I would like to hear from criminals, and I would like to bring back more crime to Washington, D.C. for law enforcement to fight. Without it, law enforcement and protection agencies have little to no purpose. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Secretary. We'll move on to open discussion in a minute, but I want you to think about the next question that I'm going to pose to you. Aside from the usual press conferences, speeches, meetings with cabinet, where do you see room for improvement in terms of activity, and how can it be done if you are elected? So, when you go into this next portion of open discussion, think about that and try to explain to us how you're going to achieve that in more ways than repeating what has been done in the past. We'll start with the Chief Marshal. Chief Chris, you can start.
With the open discussion.
Of course.
Yeah. I did want to ask something. I'm not reading off a script or anything like that. I don't, I came here I practiced, I prepared, but definitely not reading a script. Telling the people how it is, the truth.
Mm.
You don't, on the other side, sound like you're reading straight up off a document. Now, are these just promises you wrote on paper, again, just to spiel?
These are
Or is this coming truly from you? Or is this something a team prepared, ready for you here?
Believe it or not, I do not have campaign team. I have campaign manager, vice president, and I do want to put all of these plans into motion. I'm not reading strictly from script or from a script at all. I believe in my plans, and I hope the people of the United States believe in my plans as well.
Hope so too. Sometimes people write too much stuff on paper that doesn't come true, unfortunately.
About that, and I hope to make a change with that. I hope we all can.
That's gonna be all for me.
Of course. General, you've been quiet. Would you like to provide
I
anything?
don't think whatever he had to say has anything to do with what's going on here. Talking about writing on a document and reading off of a script. I've got nothing wrote down.
I mean, it sounded very scripted to me. Wouldn't you be concerned? We've heard debates like this in the past. Would you not be concerned?
I don't believe anything's scripted unless Archie's is scripted. Mine's not.
It's not
Mine's
scripted.
completely off my head. I don't really think this is
At the
beneficial.
risk, at the risk of us straying from the topic, which is to remind everyone member activity, let's kind of circle back a bit. So I mentioned earlier how and what specific ideas you all have in regards to maintaining member activity, especially during this time of year, which is taken up by the holidays, a unique opportunity for any president who wants to take advantage of it. So, what can you do to do different from past presidents who have had this opportunity before? Deputy Secretary.
Thank you. Additionally, thank you, Mr. Irving, for keeping us on topic during this debate. I would like to continue. I would like to take input from citizens and from all sorts of people on what type of events they would actually attend, because we have seen some events hosted in DC where people don't actually want to go to them, or it'll happen and there's very low attendance. Outside events, similar to how I said earlier, crime is very important to activity, and I would like to work with the head of the organized crime hub, I believe that is Medius, to bring more crime. We want to work together and give our people something to do.
Okay, thank you. Do the two of you have any rebuttal to Deputy Secretary Donut?
No, I agree with you.
There's a lot of agreements on the stage tonight, General. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was you talking to me?
I was.
I apologize. What'd you say?
There's a lot of
No,
agreements on the stage tonight, General. How do you feel about that?
I believe that we're all. I'm sorry. I believe that we all have the right mindset, that we want the nation to go in the right path, and I believe at the end of the day, we all would make good candidates and good presidents. I mean, um, all in our own ways. Um, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, as a reminder to our three candidates, this debate is your forum to present to the American people how you, as an individual, can be unique in your approach to the presidency, and what you can do that is going to be different from the other two, in terms of a presidency under you. But moving on, we can proceed to our next segment of the night. And that one is, believe it or not, congressional parties. Every candidate on the stage today is a registered independent for this election. Each one of you have been affiliated with parties in the past, but this time you have made the decision to signal a different view on the party system by not seeking their nominations. What do you think of our current political parties and their leadership? And how can you, as independents, foster the ever important principle of bipartisanship when working with Congress? Chief Chris, you're first. 2 minutes.
I believe, and I'm on the same page as my vice president, co-candidate Ed. We think they're a joke. The way they're ran now are a joke. I don't think they're taken as serious as they used to be, and I believe that's because people get into certain spots. They run a clown show. Whose friend's getting in here? Who's favoring this one? At the end of the day, there's really no true improvement or anything really like useful, because people are using these spots just to hold a title or to make something go like directly in their favor. And what I mean by that perfect example, while we were running, obviously we had parties endorse, or we had members from parties endorsing and stuff like that. You can see a lot of these people are like, they follow the wave of friends, and that's what we feel that's being done there. That's all the work that's being done there. It's holding a title. This is a friend. Let's get him in. We need to cover a seat or a spot. Whatever the case is, I feel like that's what's going on here. And the actual work that needs to be done is kind of just getting pushed to the side. So I feel like it needs a lot of working. And just to go and prove my point, everyone here ran independent, like you said earlier. So if something was different, I think obviously someone would have ran with a party, but what's the parties have to offer us right now? Nothing.
Thank you, Chief. Deputy Secretary, you're next. 2 minutes. Same question.
Thank you. I believe political parties. I've lost confidence in political parties. We've seen for the past few months, there's just been failure and disorganization throughout those parties. We've seen constant unsuccess from the members, from the leadership, and the activity as well. It's clear that there's no specific person or leadership responsible for the problems of the parties. While that may be part of the problem, I think part of the issue may also be the structure of these parties. We cannot have something so powerful that influences our policy and our law to be so disorganized as it is today. Political parties should certainly remain, but they need to either have less power or they need to have change in their system. I encourage bipartisanship at all times. I've seen time and time again, we've all seen time and time again, that political leaders will use parties to advance their agendas, and the members of these parties will blindly follow in these decisions, just going with their leadership. That is all I have to say.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. General Kwan, we're back to you.
Oh, thank you. I think political parties can be beneficial to the group, in the sense that it brings that more realistic government feel that some people really want to go after. It brings debate. It brings different ideas. And I really think the main way to fix this, our political parties, is leadership change. Obviously, I can't do nothing about it, but I really want to encourage people that want to fix these parties to run for these positions in their national committee or chairman, and fix the leadership problems within their caucuses, in the House caucus and Senate caucus. You know, I feel like it's important to have strong leadership, and I've seen a lack of strong leadership as of late, compared to when I ran Free Patriots Party. Um, we had strong leadership in the Senate and the House. And what was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. How can you, as an independent, continue to foster the concept of bipartisanship?
Um, bipartisanship, it's extremely important, but I believe people should value themselves as independent, um, instead of just blindly following parties. Um, yeah, that's all I gotta say.
All right. Thank you, General. We've now reached open discussion for this question, in fact, this topic. And again, at any time, the three candidates may chime in on their specific views in regards to the opposing individuals' answers, and we'll try to not interrupt each other in the process. So we can start with the Deputy Secretary. Would you like to expand on anything, or even expand on the topic of congressional parties?
Yeah, of course. I disagree with Mr. Suquan's opinion that we just need to find new leadership. We've already seen leadership fail time and time again. Where are we going to see the new leadership come from? We can't conjure them up from some magical realm. There are certainly competent people in this community who may be fit for that. However, it's become more clear that there's slowly a growing lack of competent people who want to involve themselves in the legislative branch and the political scene. And not just the legislative branch, but really anything high profile. Now, I think there are people in this community that have tons of potential, and I would like to see them get somewhere. But we need change not just in leadership, but in the parties, as I previously said.
Anything from our two opponents? General Kwan, you were disagreed with. Do you have a response?
Not at the moment, no. I just no. I think that's
Okay. Chief Chris.
Again, I think I kind of agree with Jen because you can find new people. If you lead them in the right direction, I think a lot of stuff can get done. I've seen it with people I worked with, people who haven't been in that field or certain fields, and I trained them or my staff trained them, and things have worked properly. So I think it could be new leadership, and I think that's kind of what's needed now, serious leadership. And that's what happened. I think that's where all the disrespect and stuff came in, where people don't really respect the parties because they're kind of memes. You got meme people running them, trolling around. That's what's going to happen with anything here, not just this certain topic, anywhere here.
Now, Chief, you've brought up an interesting subject because your running mate has a little bit different of a view on the subject, expressing his, want, if not intent, to change the system entirely. So I'll present this question to all three of you. Does something more need to be done with our parties to improve their impact on our now very solidified political structure and operations? Anyone may chime in.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said now, I think it kind of, if people wanted to be something and they wanted to last, I think it needs to be taken serious, and they have to put their interests in there. as in new leadership or just other stuff that can be done. I feel like people are interested and sometimes they get pushed away either because they're new, trust issues or whatever it is, but I feel like it needs to be taken serious, definitely on a serious level with more detail to stuff because it's just been messy. Excuse me.
Parties are indeed quite messy. I have to agree with that. And the system needs some change. I'm not saying completely blow up the parties, make new ones, but more needs to be done than what has already been attempted.
So you're suggesting a serious reform, Deputy Secretary.
Perhaps I would like to work with political officials, White House officials, members of my administration, if elected, to take a closer look and see what the actual issue is that's causing this disarray in the parties.
General Kwan, you are rather the establishment figure here tonight. So you received the endorsement of both political parties. What's your take on it?
Like I stated, I think that political parties can be beneficial. I really think that if we sat down and worked with their leaders, help get them trained up to be able to find leadership for their caucuses, help find people that would want to be part of Congress, meet with individuals that really want to help the community. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I feel like if you just really sat down with them and help out our current leaders or encourage new people to come into these leadership positions, I feel like political parties wouldn't be as messy. I feel like they get on a straight and narrow path.
Okay. So to recap, you would be opposed reforming the system entirely. Your approach would be to continue with the system and just ensuring the proper people are in charge of it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, General. Anything else from our other two candidates?
I don't have
Yeah,
anything.
so I have something to ask Tristan if that's allowed. Kind of directed in his direction.
Briefly,
so-
if it's on topic.
Yep, it's about the two political parties that endorsed you, right?
Are you talking? Okay.
What was that?
I didn't know you was talking to me. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, but it was directed at you. Yeah, no, we noticed that both parties had endorsed you, and we were really happy that they didn't endorse us, just because of the people that were running it and sitting in the leadership positions. And I'll tell you, for example, why. This just backs up as to why the parties right now are a joke. Those people running the parties, I mean, for example, they were voting motions by themselves. I think, who was it? Was it Running who did it, or Wyatt? One of them two.
I believe it was Wyatt.
Yeah, I believe it was Wyatt to go and endorse you guys or whatever the case was. And then Running did the same thing. Now, keep in mind that Running Ronald, who was your campaign manager, and Wyatt, all three of them had a little thing going for a good 2-3 weeks, whatever it was. Shit hit the fan off after that, obviously, we all know. But again, we don't feel like they endorsed the party on a serious note. We feel like they endorsed the party off friendship, or we like this person or whatever, not off quality type of the quality type of view or what they can offer. No, it was, again, three best friends or friends, whatever, messing around, flirting with each other. Of course, someone's gonna go and back someone up if they like them like that. Again, immature people leading jokes.
Yeah, is there a
We were
question
happy
coming
we
out-
didn't get that.
Is there a question coming out of that?
No, I was gonna ask you a question, but I just made it more direct.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Just to
I
show the point how our party system's kind of a joke.
I understand. I didn't actively seek their their endorsement. I know Ronald works for me as my campaign manager. I appreciate the gesture. But like I said, I still think that leadership needs to change in the parties. Um,
Definitely not disagreeing with that. Just
yeah,
backing up
I,
my statement
I,
as to why they're jokes.
I do understand. Yes. Thank
Deputy Secretary, you've been rather in the middle of this. How do you feel about it?
I'm not totally sure on the intent or actions of Mr. Suquan with the 2 endorsements that he was given. But if he did not ask for those endorsements and those parties simply gave them, then I can't really say he's to blame. However, I'm unaware on what happened.
No one's blaming him. I didn't point the
I,
finger at him. I was saying
I,
his campaign
I
was
took it as
endorsed.
that way. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought that's what you was coming at me with.
Don't be sorry, it's a debate.
All right. Well, at the risk of running over our time today, let's move on to the next subject, shall we? The fourth segment tonight is about law enforcement. So let's get into it. Our community is no stranger to law enforcement agencies. In fact, it is a core principle of role play at Washington, D.C. I can point to each candidate tonight and note their service in one way or another to a law enforcement agency. In fact, all of you have taken questions from the public regarding law enforcement and its officers. This being such an important topic, as many Americans enjoy employment in the occupation, why do you think some agencies have lost the faith of the American public? And what direct action can be taken to confront it? Deputy Secretary Donut, we can start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I believe agencies, specifically the Metropolitan Police Department, the backbone department of Washington, D.C., has people have lost confidence in this department because of its drop in activity, because of certain, you could say, scandals with leadership, the recent mass firings of multiple officers, and other activity with that department. Now, I think that leadership must change in the department. When there is an issue in something like a law enforcement agency, that's either caused by the policies or the leadership or the structure of that agency. I would like to work with, or my administration actually would like to work with Justice Department and MPD leadership to examine the problem, examine who's responsible for the problem, and make changes with both the people who are responsible for this and the people or the policies that are responsible for this. People must be held apologies. People must be held responsible for what's been happening, and that's simply not being done. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Secretary. We appreciate it. General Kwan, you're up. 2 minutes.
Can you repeat the question for me real quick? If you don't
I
mind?
would be happy to.
Okay. Thank you.
Why do you think some agencies have lost the faith of the American public, and what direct action can be taken to confront it?
Just like Archie said, the Metropolitan Police Department, there's been a lack of activity, especially with the chief police. You never really see him online. I know he came online the other day, and it was a big surprise. You really, I think they're losing the trust from the public with the firing of however many officers they fired, and then other incidents within the department that I've heard of, like a lieutenant being suspended for harassing a captain, things like that. I really feel like this wouldn't happen if we had strong leadership in these positions. I know that earlier in the term when Fallon was president at the time, people were asking for Alpha to be removed as chief, and I still think he should be removed. I think we need a more well-rounded member as chief of police, to really bring back the activity and the trust. That's all.
All right, thank you, General. Chief Chris, you're up. 2 minutes. If able.
Yeah, so it's gonna be quick just because I have to get going. So my apologies, but my mother's in the area, so dinner plans. Law enforcement, obviously, big part of our community. A lot of departments do law enforcement work, obviously. Specifically, what's been going on with certain departments with the ignorance coming from leadership, failing to lead them properly, give them assistance where needed, lying to the public about what's going on in the department, trying to cover their asses. I mean, mistreating people with history in these departments, people with dedication, people who've kept these departments maybe even going at one point. Ignorance, again. I think a lot of people think they're either better or they try to play a different card and it ends up biting them in the ass. And then the department are the people who hurt the people in the department itself, not the people who are in the White House or whatever. It's easy for them to hide something under the carpet or whatever. But when shit hits the fan and a department really needs help, they need someone who's going to provide leadership and assistance, not who's going to ignore them or let a certain person step in and then make the situation even worse. If you want people interested in these departments, you got to treat them like people. You got to respect their lives. You got to respect their schedules. And you got to respect the work and effort they put into these departments. Because without them, there would be no law enforcement. And without law enforcement, there probably wouldn't be any crime either. So vice versa. It's a big hit on our nation. Even like MPD, that's kind of like the face of DC. It's kind of sad the way that department has been getting treated. A department that can be big and beautiful, just like SS. It can do so much. Just, again, people with ignorance and wanting to do what they want to do. You know, you can't always be the top guy. You got to listen to the people under you. If not, you're never going to be a good leader. If you just constantly think your idea is the way to go. But that's what I leave it at for tonight. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Benjamin, thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone for coming, even though I rescheduled the first time. My apologies. I wish you guys the best. Jen and Donut, I wish you guys put on a better show, but love that I'm running next to you guys. So
Thank
keep it
you.
up. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good evening, Chief. Let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. You've both spoken about MPD, and just glancing at the public polling for MPD and its chief, there's currently a high disparity between those that approve and those that disapprove. What's your take on that? Why do you think that's the case with MPD? General.
Sorry. Can you repeat it one more time? I'm sorry. I was distracted by Chris's comment after he had to leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
got me.
MPD and its chief badly polling as of the last polling taken at the beginning of the month. Why do you think that is?
As I said, inactivity, and controversies. You never really see Alpha online. You never see him really doing anything. You see just constant controversies coming out of MPD. Obviously, nothing's really getting fixed. We're almost 2 months into this term, and there's no change from the start of the term. There's no more activity than there was to begin with. There's probably less. There's been so many controversies, including the firing of however many officers, that one officer harassing, like I said. Um, Obviously, they need to get a grip of their department. And I feel like if he was more available at DC, if he was showing his leadership qualities at DC, he wouldn't have bad polling, and we wouldn't be up here talking bad about it. Thank you.
Deputy Secretary?
In addition to the reasons that have been said by myself and my fellow candidates earlier, I believe transparency and ignorance are two very important things that must be focused on. In terms of ignorance, leadership need to be looking out for what's going on in their department. This means all levels of leadership and all levels of their department. There can be issues happening anywhere, and those have to be watched closely. I believe that is not being done. In terms of transparency, I believe, especially with my experience in law enforcement, that transparency is a very big part of the stability of anything, not just the Metropolitan Police Department. There should be communication and openness between the department and the people, and the department and its own officers. The officers need to know what's expected of them. They need to know what's going on, but the leadership also need to be kept in check. In addition to that, the people need to be need to be informed about what the leadership are doing or hope to do to fix the department or to solve the problems that have occurred. As we've seen, there has not been much honesty in some cases or much communication when something erroneous has clearly occurred and been ignored by leadership. I yield my time.
Thank you. Now, we've been talking about MPD. Let's get more into perhaps the root cause of the problem. At this point, 2 presidents have had the chance to correct the course of the Metropolitan Police Department and, in fact, the Department of Justice. Would you say that the current operations of MPD and the department as a whole reflect badly on the current president? Any of you can chime in on that.
Yes, certainly. The president may not be directly responsible for the Metropolitan Police Department, but MPD is an agency under the federal government, under the Justice Department, and both are vital to the safety and activity in this nation. Apologies, 1 second. Okay, I had some background noise. I apologize for that. As I was saying, no, I've lost my track. I'm very sorry for that.
Yes, you were agreeing that the president, Cam,
Yes.
has not done enough.
Thank you. Yes. Change needs to be brought in Justice Department leadership, perhaps, certainly in MPD leadership, as these people are not doing enough. And the president has the power to do this. Previous administrations have not used that power to make any change that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Secretary. General, any thoughts on that?
Pretty much goes back to all my answers. I think the chief of police needs to be replaced.
Is that something you would do, General?
Yeah, for sure. Do I think it looks bad on the current president? I think it could, for sure. To a certain aspect, I think it looks bad on the attorney general as well. Yeah, but I mean, if the people have really been vocal about getting him replaced, why hasn't it happened? That's what I'm confused about. But if I was elected, I think that he would be out of there day one.
A genuine question to consider. Thank you, General. If nothing else from the two of you, we can proceed. Very good. All right, folks, we have reached the 5th and final segment of tonight's debate, which is composed of community questions. Each candidate will be called on randomly to begin answering, and all will have a chance to answer and provide rebuttal. So, let's start with our first question tonight. Nepotism has been a notable problem in recent times, with 92% of those having been polled agreeing it should be addressed by the next president. What can you do to stop it? And how will your approach to the leadership departments change in response to the polling? General. Do I need to explain what nepotism is?
No, thank you, asshole. But I feel like it's a close knit community. Obviously, we all got our friends and such, but I believe that if someone applies for a job, they should get that job on their own. If someone is to be given a job, like say a cabinet position, they should be qualified for that position, not just because they're friends.
So you have a strong belief in merit versus networking.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all.
Deputy Secretary, the same question.
I do agree that nepotism is absolutely unacceptable. It should not be something that we see throughout our government or really anywhere. And any leadership or any person that shows nepotism or bias, it's unacceptable. They need to be gone. People should be put in places and valued for the effort they put into the community, the time they put into the community, and what they've actually done, not just simply who they are.
Okay. So the theme I'm getting is it's unacceptable. You don't agree with it. I should hope not. It's nepotism. It's a pretty bad concept to be in support of. But how would you stop it if you were president? General,
How would I stop it?
how would you stop it?
It's a good question. I know that it's very hard to stop, I guess. Depending on which department it really involves. Um, you know, sorry. I don't know. I mean, I guess you would just really, if I was picking cabinet positions, whoever's next in line, whoever's active, whoever's qualified, I wouldn't be picking my friends. I wouldn't be asking the CIA to hire my good friend. Yeah.
See, nice little reference there. If that's the case, General, that means you have a strict adherence to the line of succession in your departments. Is that right?
If the line of succession is good.
If it's
Like,
good.
yeah, like per se, MPD. I don't know anybody in MPD that's under Alpha that should go up as chief of police. But I mean,
So naturally, you would suggest Ronald, your campaign manager, become the MPD chief.
probably not. No. Sorry, Ronald.
Okay, good. For those of you unaware, Ronald's Speaker of the House and his campaign manager. So that would be considered nepotism otherwise. Deputy Secretary Dana, the original question that I had posed to the general is, what can he do specifically to stop it if he were president? What can you do?
I believe that people skipping ranks, especially in large quantities, should be prevented unless absolutely necessary. By absolutely necessary, I mean there are no competent people left to fill an essential position. But that should not be happening in the first place, of course. You don't want to be putting incompetent people in the line of succession for some key position. For example, I mean, the job of any deputy or under whatever, for example, deputy chief, deputy secretary, and undersecretary, perhaps. They are not just responsible for their own tasks, but they are responsible for stepping in as the leader when necessary if something happens to whoever they are assisting. I would like to enforce some rank. I apologize for the background noise. I'll finish up my question quickly as I have to go AFK for a quick second. Rank jumping should not be happening, basically, unless there are exigent circumstances. I apologize. I'll be right back.
All right, thank you.
Interesting.
General,
Hello.
how do you feel about the deputy secretary's response?
Really couldn't understand him. He kept going in and out with his mic, background noise, but I'm sure that he was on the right track there.
I
I hope.
see.
Yeah.
So, dare I ask, were you listening?
I was listening. I was more focused on his mom yelling at him.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad we can sort that out. While the deputy secretary is gone, we can go on to the next question. The military is an important part of our community, General.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You were the chief of staff of the army at one point, so you should know anything about it, right?
Yeah.
And with many events and even a holiday dedicated to it each month, what do you plan to do to increase military activity and performance?
That's a good question. There's a lot of things that we could do differently. Um, obviously it starts off with your leadership, like most things do. Um, Obviously, if your leadership isn't performing, if there's not any, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to get out. But if the leadership is not performing in the way that they should be, obviously they should be replaced. If there isn't BCTs going on, then obviously um, the military is not going to thrive. We're not getting new recruits. If there's not recruitment going on, it's not going to thrive. Um, but I feel like the military is long overdue for new things and new ideas. And, I really want to sit down and work with my military leadership, which I've done in the past a million times over my 2.5 years of the group. Um, I really want to focus on getting new ideas to really help the military thrive, whether it be, a complete rebranding of the military. I don't know how well over that would go with, our development team, but I feel like a change of scenery, something new, something fresh is a good idea to really bring the military back in a thriving state.
Okay. Well, you've answered. Well, you've answered by stating some of the problems with military activity, but I believe what you're trying to say is to have a sit down with your generals and
I
put
did say
together a
that.
plan.
I
That
did
is
say
the
that.
plan.
Yes, I did say
Okay.
that. Yes.
So the plan is to formulate a plan, General.
Plan is to formulate a plan. Of course, sir.
All right. Very interesting, I must say.
Can't go in without a plan.
I suppose, even if the plan is to make one with beforehand.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, the deputy secretary will be gone for a few more minutes, so we can keep exploring the topic, General.
Oh yeah, of course. We could talk all day.
We can. In fact, I specifically have a unique opportunity to ask you
Oh
because
Lord.
you were the chief of staff of the army. You've been a person in high-profile positions in the military.
Yeah.
So, what can you do differently now if you were to become president, as opposed to you being in direct command of the individuals who serve?
Um, you know, this is gonna really backtrack a lot with my career here, but when I was Secretary of Defense, I had some plans and they got ruined. Sorry, Sinraz, love you, but he did kind of run off my my chairman at the time, Mr. Vass. So I really think that as president, I won't have anyone pushing me over, really jumping over me, doing things um, that mess up my plan. Um, that I don't know what the word is, but um, yeah, I really think that as president, I can formulate a plan and I can understand the problems that certain people have within the military. I've been in it for such a long time. I know just about every single person that's in the military. I understand every problem that they have, and I really think that blank. Damn. I really think that fixing their problems as president by speaking to my generals by not in an aggressive way like certain presidents have. Really getting to the root of the problem, fixing that problem instead of um, insulting people and really running them off. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Seeing our deputy secretary is still not back, we will at least proceed on to a new question.
Oh, I thought we was going on with the military.
You seem to be well versed, General.
Yeah, a little bit.
And would you like to remind us all why you're so well versed?
Hmm. Well, I've been a general in the Army 7 times. I've been a general in the Marine Corps 1 time, and Secretary of Defense, but that was a failure. Sorry, Ancient Blue. Yeah, and then I was, officer a million times. Can't count all them up. Yeah, I've been everywhere in the military pretty much. Done it all.
Indeed. Well, at least we are reminded.
Yes. Be reminded of my greatness.
Oh yes. Well, let's at least get in the next question. Change and progress are staples of a healthy democracy and a thriving community. General, what can you do in your plans to be different from presidents of the past? Something unique that you have identified as something you want to do if you were to win.
Something unique. Um, I'm really pushing in my platform and my campaign with unique events, like I said. And as I've said, I really don't want to go in a full elaborate explanation on every single event that I have planned out in my head, because obviously
I'm
that's stolen. Oh, welcome back, Archie.
I'm back. I'm very sorry for
Do you want?
my absence.
Are we gonna backtrack for Archie, or do you want me to continue?
Go ahead and continue.
Okay, I've lost my train of thought. Where was I?
Very sorry.
Unique events,
Okay.
General.
Oh yes. I really want to focus on doing unique things and more community interactive things. I feel like a lot of presidents haven't been as interactive. I feel like, you know, yeah, we get our occasional server startup and our occasional press conference at the White House, but I feel like, this is a platform that you can do just about anything. And I really feel like, with these specific, unique events that we've got planned out in our heads, um, it'll bring a new light, new new color to this group, new something just new.
And what would you say to people that would consider your response of unique events as being vague?
It is vague, but if I go and tell people exactly what I'm doing, then Archie's gonna steal it. He's gonna steal my ideas, and then I don't want Archie stealing my stuff. I work
Mm,
hard on my stuff, and I can't have that being stolen by Archie. Well, a donut.
I see. Deputy Secretary, to recap a bit, we were answering the question, Shane, what can you point out in your plans for the country as being different or unique from presidents of the past? That's what we've been highlighting currently with the general. What can you do?
Key focus of my campaign is transparency. Transparency and communication. Without those two things, I don't know how a government can function. Now, I mean transparency and communication between the people, the government, the leadership, all of them. One of the ways I want to bring transparency is weekly press conferences, or sorry, bi-weekly press conferences with a press release on the off week. And I mean, we want to keep the people informed. And I would also like to have the White House send Congress reports occasionally, likely only when major decisions are made, just to give congressional committees activity, and to have transparency between the executive and legislative branches. Additionally, I want to build a positive relationship with media organizations. I would like to trial a early release program, basically giving trusted news organizations information slightly in advance, so they'll be ready to break the news to the American people. But aside from that, I want to stress communication, and I also would like to take advantage of the Homeland Security's Office of Operations Coordination, as that can increase coordination between law enforcement for their events and plans.
Okay. But forgive me, Deputy Secretary. Transparency and communication is not a novel concept for the presidency. And while it is commendable that you were championing these ideas because it has clearly been a problem in the past, how does that make it unique in your approach?
I believe that it's been a problem for quite a while, and nobody's been doing anything to fix it. So bringing in new ideas and new efforts.
Uh,
All right, well, we appreciate your thoughts on that. General, do you
yeah.
have a response or would you like to continue to be clueless?
No, I'm not. Did I say I was clueless? I'm not clueless. Uh,
If something confuses you, I'm happy to
I,
verify what I
I'm
said.
not. I'm not confused. I get your gist,
Okay,
buddy. I
great.
do want to say though, transparency, communication. It's not unique. Not not a unique thing. I think even Ben was trying to hint at that. He was the all around perfect president. He did that stuff. I think that's why he was, saying what
Did
he's
I?
saying. Yeah, I feel like he was saying that he was all around perfect one. I'm just kidding.
All right. Any other rebuttal from the two of you? No? Excellent. Let's ask our final question of the
You didn't
night.
let him get his military answer in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Deputy Secretary, would you like to weigh in on a military community question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The general had the chance before. I will give it to you now. What do you plan to do to increase military activity and performance, specifically?
I believe the root cause of the inactivity and poor performance of the Army is the 82nd Airborne Division. It's the backbone division of the Army. It has the most people. I believe it is now being reformed into the 101st Airborne Division by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and Army leadership. And I do hope that their reforms are successful. However, I would like to get input from all levels of ranks, enlisted officers, and I want to have a balance between these officers and enlisted. If you tuned into the town hall, you've definitely heard me say that a balance between leadership and base level personnel in competency is very important, as there needs to be good sum of both to get things done efficiently. And I want to work closely with leadership to do so.
All right, thank you. General, would you like to comment?
No. I
No
think we
comment?
can move on to the final question. No, I think I spoke too much about military. We had a lengthy
Ah,
conversation there. While
We
our chief
did. We
Yeah.
did. Never fear that. All right, here is your final question. It is important to emphasize with a opponent when on the debate stage. What two qualities do you see in yourself that you can also point out in your opponent today? Deputy Secretary.
Thank you. I believe that both myself, Mr. Kwan, and Mr. Chris, even though he's not here tonight anymore, we're all very dedicated individuals. We've spent lots of time in the departments we've served in. As you've seen, Chris has been the chief marshal and has been leadership in the United States Marshals for several months. I've been the director of diplomatic security for a very long amount of time prior to my time as vice president. And Mr. Kwan has been in the military for quite a long amount of time, and I've also seen him serve in the Senate for a very long amount of time, and he's done a lot. Dedication is important, and if you want somebody as president, you do not want them to give up or stop just because it gets difficult. As for my second second choice of words, I would say out of the box thinking. And I know this is more than one word, but you have to come up with new ways to change the community and to improve our government. And I think we've all done just that in our own special ways, of course.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Secretary. General, you're up.
Archie stole my word. I was gonna say dedicated, but I don't think you want me stealing words, do you?
That's entirely up to you, General.
Well, I'm gonna steal my word back. I do think we're very dedicated in what we do, and we're dedicated to the group as a whole, being active in the community. I feel like this community is very important to all three of us. We may disagree on some things, but I believe that we're all in major agreement that we want what's best for the community. We want the community to be active. We want all members of the community to enjoy their time here. Yeah. Let's see. I got dedicated down. Spell that word. I had to have two words, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid two qualities was the
Two
question.
qualities. What's another quality? I was gonna say gay, but I don't know if Chris is gay.
Are you coming out to the people, Jen?
Oh no, sorry.
Right,
Apologize.
you've heard it here first, folks.
Okay.
Um,
We're glad to have you.
sorry. I'm sorry. Good question. It's a good question. Dedicated. Active. We're active
Mm,
and we're fun. That's a good one.
wow.
We're fun, and I feel
3
like
adjectives.
we don't really push that enough. Like, you know, being president, I don't think it should be all. Obviously you should be professional, but you want to have fun. Like, you don't want to go in there and be stressed out and losing your real hair. You don't want to be bald like me in real life. You want to have fun, and that's what I feel like we all can provide, and we all want to do is have fun. Yeah,
Oh, all right.
fun.
Well, thank you, General. We certainly appreciate your input, and thank you again, Deputy Secretary, for your remarks. But I'm afraid all good things must come to an end. And tonight we are finally at an end for the October 2022 presidential debate. We do want to thank all three candidates for participating tonight, and a very big thank you to our audience as well for their interest and participation. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the Founders Election Commission for giving the BBC the opportunity to host tonight's debate. And be sure to stay tuned, because the election is closer than you think.
How
And
close?
closer than you think, General. Closer than you think. Yes, be advised to keep an eye out for the announcements channels from the FEC. They'll let you know.
I like when you call me general. By the way, really.
Like having a position of authority, Jin.
No, I just like that title being like I like Benjamin saying general. Like I don't want you saying it, Archie, but I want Benjamin to say that in my ear whispered. Yeah, general.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, general. Yeah, yeah, general.
All right. Well, thank you, Nathan, for your
Of
thoughts.
course.
Until then, this has been BBC News. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.